welcome to the Cosmo Brew Show!
Yeah!
What is up, Magoshi Chinyani?
Hey, my man, I am living. I'm feeling good. I had a quick, brief spell with some serious nausea yesterday for a couple of hours, but I have rebounded and I am back.
You know, you're pregnant?
That's what I thought at first, but then I realized that that's never happened before and that I was probably safe.
You know,
but I did be scared.
Yeah, you know, after Christmas and New Year's, my belly looked like I was pregnant. You know, I carry all of my weight in the belly. Like, you can see me from behind and be like, that dude's in shape. But then just turn 90 degrees, and it's that whole Alfred Hitchcock looking thing.
Alfred Hitchcock.
I know there's a certain segment of the population under 55 years old that will not understand that. We're not that old.
That's bad, man. It's one of the greatest of all time, dude. It's amazing movies.
You know, I need to get more time for all sorts of reasons, but I would love to sit and just watch that. Because it's been a while. I remember watching it as a kid. Anyway, we got a great show today. It is insane in the NBA right now. We have trades. We have, it was like All-Star just became like a footnote yesterday. I was traveling and getting all these texts and updates and then questions and just chaos because apparently Kristaps Porzingis just walked into a meeting and then turned around and walked out in 5 minutes. With the Knicks. Not so happy with them is Kristaps the Unicorn Porzingis, and Dallas jumped up right all over it. Teams have been talking with Porzingis and the Knicks for a while. That meeting, I think, was the Go F Yourself meeting, and we'll get into that. Then you've got all of the Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving just did a press conference or a press availability where you'll be hearing about that probably before this podcast is released later today. Kevin Durant is obviously tied to all of this. Trade deadline season is basically here. Trade deadline's in about a week. And, the All-Star selections, kicked off the usual, this guy should have made it, but you don't mention who shouldn't have made it, which is one of my biggest pet peeves. So, I don't know about you, Kaz, but I'm ready to jump right into it.
Let the jumping begin.
Yeah, let us jump. Porzingis traded to the Mavs. This deal was pretty big. It's got a few moving pieces here, but the big piece in return that New York got, at least as far as a player goes, is Dennis Smith Jr., who was basically on his way out of Dallas no matter what. And that was an interesting just sort of sidebar of a story, just kind of see how a second-year player and the Mavs, to be fair, both camps basically said this isn't working. And I'm actually kind of, I think it was smart that these guys, while he has high value, decided to move and get some value for him. And then he, pushing his way out, now gets himself a place, in a really good place in New York to showcase his talents. But the other pieces of the deal for New York, they got essentially buyout guys. And it's a little unclear if they're even going to play in New York. But Wes Matthews and DeAndre Jordan. And then they got 2 first-round picks that are going to convey in like 2042 or something. No, they're going to convey in as soon as the Mavs get rid of, or they convey their pick to Atlanta from the Luka Doncic trade. Dallas got in return some short-term pieces in Courtney Lee, who has $12.8 million on his contract for next season, and Tim Hardaway Jr., who has $18.2 and $19 million for the next 2 years as well. And Trey Burke is the final piece going to Dallas. So, after all that, what were your initial hits about this deal, Kaz?
The deal, I think it's working. First of all, the Dennis Smith thing, I wanted to talk about that a couple of weeks ago, but I think we missed the show. He, I think, has really dropped. I think his attitude really I think he really lost something. I don't think he's really a true point guard. I think he's more of one of those small twos. And I really think that if he had had a better attitude, I really think that him and Doncic could have worked. I think that a lot of those small scoring guards, where their careers kind of derail, is that they're not really point guards and they're forced into that role. Well, here you had a guy who I know he scores a lot, but when I watch him, I'm always way more impressed with his facilitating and his playmaking and his ability to run the point. So I think if he had come in instead of being so, butthurt that he wasn't going to be the star of the team and really just kind of embrace what was happening, I think that he could have made things happen there. But I think that it is good that he's going to get to New York and display his talents for at least this half of the season. We'll talk about Kyrie later, but if somehow he finds his way there, he'll be on the move again. So that's why I don't know. For Dennis Smith, I don't know. Like he shouldn't buy too many furniture items for his new place.
Well, what I think is really intriguing about Dallas in that situation is they could have had a really weird inverted lineup, because if you consider Luka Doncic the primary ball handler, and then you have Dennis Smith Jr. as a secondary ball handler, and you bring in a defensive point guard, or try to otherwise leverage the fact that your bigger player in Luka Doncic is the point guard. You can do some things a la Marcus Smart in Boston, where you get the benefits of the defensive point guard, but you don't necessarily want them as a high usage player. And I find that to be interesting. Anytime, like in a Ben Simmons situation in Philadelphia, you could really beef up that point guard position defensively with a 3-and-D type player, and just be weird about it. Especially when you consider somebody like a Luka Doncic isn't going to be able to check the opposing point guard, and you're going to be stuck in cross matches pretty much all game anyway. Just some food for thought there. As far as the trade itself goes, people have been talking about who won and who lost, and New York, let's stay there. They gave up a player that's really highly coveted, essentially because they couldn't get along with him and they couldn't show any sort of stability in the front office. And you got a guy in Scott Perry who's been brought in. Steve Mills is still the president, and of course you got Jim Dolan, the owner there. And when you look at this, you don't know who's making the decisions. I mean, honestly, yeah. I have no idea. Scott Perry is supposed to be the guy. He's the guy that's got all the contacts around the league, the media. With Mills, I think people are pretty much fed up with Mills around the league, mostly because he carried water for Dolan for so long. Dolan, who knows what his deal is? Is he putting his thumb on the scales with all of these decisions? So you get Dennis Smith Jr. and you create cap space for $71 million. I think the big message you hear out of the New York beat writing crew, which, by the way, is greatly honest. I love those guys. I love Frank Casola. Whatever you guys think about him, I love Frank Casola. And I love, what's his name out of the New York Daily News? I will remember his name in a second here. They just tell it how it is. Stephen Bondy. Thank you very much. Brain's working today. Oh, and a great time, because I have not had enough coffee. As mentioned, our show sponsor, which should have done at the beginning of the show, but not enough coffee, is Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee. Greatest coffee in the world. Go get some. All right. We're moving on. What are you thinking about this deal? I mean, 2 first-round picks, you open up $71 million in cap space. The prevailing talk out of New York is that it's a huge gamble because they basically need to land Kyrie and Kevin Durant in order to make this work. Are you buying that sentiment?
I don't think that. I don't know. I think they have as good a chance of getting those two as a European team in Italy does. I mean, who knows? Who knows if they really want to go there? What has changed over the last when the Knicks got beat by the by the Spurs in the finals 20 years ago. What has changed over there? It's been a rotating of coaches and GMs. The only consistent thing is Dolan was a terrible owner. I've heard Kawhi's name floated, and he certainly isn't going to go there. I think that's beyond laughable that he, coming from the Spurs, would ever associate himself with such an absolute dumpster fire of an organization as the Knicks. Now, if ego is driving this thing and Durant and Kyrie want to go there, that's perfectly fine. But I just don't see that. I understand. It's a big gamble. You're giving up Porzingis, but at the same time, Porzingis is never healthy, showing huge signs that he's going to be a 50, 55 game a year guy. So in some respects, I don't think maybe it wasn't much of a gamble. Maybe as talented as he is, maybe you think like if he's the best player on your team or the number two, you're not getting anywhere in the next few years anyway. But I think that for Dallas, I think that I don't know. I think this is going to be a less significant trade on both sides than it may appear. It's a big trade because of the names, but I don't know that it necessarily I don't think that Doncic and Porzingis 5 years from now is necessarily going to be a slam dunk, one of the best two tandems in the league, because I just don't think that Porzingis is going to be around for most of the season.
So it's more of a health issue with Porzingis.
Absolutely. We've seen on the court what he can do. He's a very gifted player. If you told me Kristaps Porzingis is going to play 75 games for the next 5 years, I'd then it's a complete and total steal, no questions asked. I mean, they absolutely killed this deal.
Well, they also gave a lot in this deal when you consider the 2 first-round picks.
Yes.
I'm really, there's an easy path to draw between Dallas giving up some pretty good real estate and, because Luka Doncic is great, let's see how he matures as well. I think a lot has to be said for his ability to defend at a high level 3 to 4 years from now. When you come into the league, you got young legs, and it goes away in 2 to 3 years. So, let's see how that works. But, an injury to him or, like you said, Porzingis, and now they are really hurting. And maybe they're banking on the fact that they'll never tank, and the picks they'll give up will always be in the 10 to 15 range. But
the thing is, they draft well. They draft well.
Oh, yeah, and those picks are valuable. And
that's where I think that where it's funny for New York never drafts well. So people are like, oh my God, New York, they could get Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, and they'll still have 2 first round picks coming. It's like, they just got Kyrie and Kevin Durant because they're going to screw those up. Knox I think is fine. He's fine, but the history of their drafting has not been great. It's not like if Dallas or the Spurs gets a bunch of picks, no matter where they are, you're like, they're going to get some pretty good players. You cannot say the same for New York. So, we'll see. But for Dallas, it's a big deal giving up those picks because they always draft well.
There are a lot of tributaries to this story because, you could even just look at the buyout players. There's already a rumor out there that Wes Matthews is willing to get bought out and that the Rockets are interested in him. That could be huge. Or a lot of those, or DeAndre too. I think. Well, I was thinking about DeAndre. So, imagine if Capella was hurt, or maybe wasn't performing as much as they would like. You throw DeAndre Jordan in that lineup, things get a lot more interesting. So that side of the buyout market's interesting. It was great. Enes Kanter had a tweet. It was one of those thinking faces that people use on Twitter or wherever to let you know that whatever is being talked about is incredibly moronic. And it was Scott Perry, saying that they really wanted to make sure that they offered the young guys some veteran assistance. And Ennis is just like, what are you talking about, dude? You guys wouldn't even play me. He also got memed because he got back on the floor the other night. When their handling of Enes Kanter has been so stupid, I can't even begin to talk about it. But he gets on the New York Knicks home floor, kisses it, and then airballs his first shot.
I like Enes Kanter as a player a lot more than you do, but I love Enes Kanter as a person. Like, that dude is like, you talk about like somebody that if I had to have like a beer with somebody,
yeah,
I'm gonna sit down with. I mean, that guy is phenomenal. And like he did the whole like I raised rafters, I raised banners in the stadium when he kissed the floor. That is so beautiful, man. He's awesome.
Well, I think the NBA has really had a great week, and it's funny, it's happening during Super Bowl week. It's just had this like great week. There's so much star potential or star power in the league. Like, even just like, what is Enes Kanter like on a good team? Like the fifth man, sixth man? I mean, he's out there, just giving you news headlines, and it's great. I love the NBA. And we're going to get a lot. I mean, everybody for the last 4 years says the trade deadline is going to suck. And for the most part, it has. And we're seeing early stuff happen. But, I mean, and we'll get into this in a second, but, like, Anthony Davis sitting out there as the big domino is just this amazing story. We will get into the nuts and bolts of that in a second. And the entire league is on edge as these big pieces move prior to free agency. And, Dallas, they get Courtney Lee, they get Tim Hardaway Jr. They'll probably play those guys, if I had to imagine, trying to never tank, though there's really no incentive, I don't think, for them to win games at this point. They don't really have a chance to make the playoffs. This deal, I guess to put a bow on it, do you sign off on this deal? Because a lot of people around the league are saying that they just rolled the Knicks on this thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't say. I would lean toward that they won it, because just so many things have to happen down the road for the Knicks to win it. Like, they have to land the free agents, they have to draft well. But for Dallas, I mean, even a guy like Tim Hardaway Jr., he's going to have a very efficient time there. He's going to be able to, he's been asked to basically be the best scorer on the Knicks, and there's no one in their right mind that would consider him a number one option. Well, now he slides down to like the third, fourth option on a team with a great coach who's great at offensive scheming. So he's going to have a very nice rest of the season. We'll have an even better beginning to next season. And then, look, trade deadline comes up. He's got an expiring contract. So I think from those things, like, Dallas has won, even if you're only getting in Porzingis a guy that's going to be healthy 55 games a year. They've still, even though they gave up the 2 picks, they're still kind of putting themselves in the position to make things happen. So
even in the Courtney Lee situation, similarly, this is classic Knicks stuff. They let him rot on the bench. I'm not buying the neck injury. I don't know about you. I mean, maybe he had some neck thing, but like at some point, right? Courtney Lee could easily, get picked up by a contender halfway through next season as well. So that's
a really good, solid pro.
Absolutely,
you know what you're going to get. In those playoff games, he's going to give you good D. He's going to hit open shots. He's going to play within himself. I mean, there's give me a break.
And last thing on Dennis Smith Jr., nobody's really brought this up, but the knock on him coming into the league is his teammates at NC State didn't like him.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that hasn't been thrown out there. The one good thing I'll say about the Mavs, well, I guess that's not just the one good thing, but the one good thing in this situation, or a good thing in this situation, is that they didn't trash him. I really don't like it when an organization just starts trashing a guy on the way out, and that it didn't happen. So hats off to the Mavs, and hats off to Dennis Smith Jr.'s camp too, because they didn't really trash the Mavs either.
What's funny about that when they want to trash a guy, it doesn't help you as an organization. I've never understood that. Like you're trashing a guy like, oh, he's lazy, he's this, and you haven't even traded him yet, and then now you're just taking assets off the table for the other team. I've never understood that.
Yeah, it's the sign of a good organization is what it is. Is they understand that this is a business and you can't go trashing, everybody on the way out the door. It's kind of business 101.
Right.
Unless it's warranted. There are situations where, what's his name in Half Baked when he announces he's quitting the fast food joint. What is his name? Scarface, I think, in Half Baked. F you, you're cool.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's warranted. All right. Let's shift gears here. Anthony Davis is obviously the big story in the NBA and will be until he is eventually dealt. This is a really complicated situation because you've got a football team that owns a basketball team, basically. You've got an owner that's passed. His wife, Gail Benson, we're talking about the late Tom Benson, who owned both the Saints and the New Orleans Pelicans. Benson is, he picked up that team and, basically sort of resuscitated it in a weird way. Hasn't done anything great with it. GM Dell Demps has not done a good job throughout the years. Really, ton of questionable moves. Anthony Davis did not win in New Orleans, and how much of that you want to put on him is, some degree of a hot take. The camp for AD has represented by Rich Paul, who is tight with LeBron James and Clutch Sports. Everybody around the league is complaining about that relationship. It's got too much power, and news to everybody, nothing's ever going to change. Anthony Davis wants to play in LA. That's what I believe. That I'm reading all of the tea leaves and the reports by Woj and others that essentially say that. So it's not like a big leap of faith there to say that. But you have a team like Boston who has a ton of assets. That's willing to fire away. And the interesting thing about Boston is they cannot really acquire Davis unless Kyrie Irving is not on the team. And it comes the CBA rule about having these designated exceptions for star players. You can only have one of them on the team at a time. Boston has made no secret that they're going to back up the Brinks truck to get Anthony Davis over the summer. New York, they want to make a play. They've got cap space. They desperately need a franchise-changing player. So does everybody else. This is, to me, boiling down to whether or not the Lakers can make one of those Zillow make-me-move offers to the Pelicans because, and I might not be right on this, they're willing to wait it out till the summer, and I don't know that they're going to put him back on the basketball court, because I wouldn't put him back on the basketball court if I'm the Pelicans. You have nothing to gain. I mean, all you can do is help you win.
With his history, too, I mean, I just can't, I don't know.
But now he has said he wants to play. And I think that's player speak in one of these situations for I'm already uncomfortable with my trade demand that I got fined by the league for. I don't think Anthony Davis is the kind of guy that really is like, I'm going to play hardball with you. I think he wants to play basketball, and he knows where he wants to play. It's not comfortable, when you've been drafted by a team and he took his teammates all out to dinner and sort of pre-telegraphed what was going to happen. He wants everybody to like him. He is going to get booed at home, I believe. Yeah. So, really uncomfortable situation. I don't see why you put him back on the floor.
I think as more comes out, he'll get booed. I think the initial, from what I've heard, the initial thing from New Orleans fans was that they were throwing a lot of it at Demps's door, but I think that's quickly. If it's not already moving very quickly towards him and Rich Paul. The whole thing is just, this is, again, like you said, it's uncomfortable. He's not this whole game of putting your stuff out in the media and playing hardball. There's only certain guys that are actually really comfortable with that. And I just can't imagine that just listening to him from interviews, he just seems like a really nice kid. And that, this is not really his thing. But, if you want to dance down that road, you got to be ready for it. I don't know what the Lakers are going to do. I think they'd rather have him in rather sooner than later. But I kind of feel like, if I'm a Kawhi or if I'm a Durant or if I'm a Klay Thompson, I don't know that I want to go to the Rich Paul owned Lakers. That's just me. So to me, if you're going to go in and make this move for Anthony Davis, to me, I don't think that you have a chance of acquiring another really good player. So this is it. You better believe that Anthony Davis and LeBron and some key, role playing veterans are going to be that are going to come in, on the cheap or whatever. You better believe that that's going to get it done. Because I wouldn't want to be there. Certainly, I think you completely take you out of the Kawhi Leonard running. I don't think that that's the kind of thing, I just don't think people want to have, certainly not Klay. I mean, that's completely out of the water. I don't think they have much chance anyway with him, but even if they did, coming from an organization like the Warriors, now you're going to go to an organization where they're going to get rid of the coach that you like in Luke Walton and have acquiesced the power, much like Cleveland did, to one guy and his agent. I just don't think the guys that they're interested in are going to want to come there.
It really speaks to how well the Warriors have turned out, and the other thing is how much Steph Curry brings to that organization just by being sort of easy to deal with, and
right.
Klay as well. The two of them really they absorb so much of whatever Draymond's going to bring, whatever KD's going to bring, whatever DeMarcus. I mean, you don't even hear problems out of the DeMarcus Cousins situation, and though it's early and all of that, but it's and then you just go a few miles south, and here is Rich Paul essentially trying to take over the LA market. Financially it all makes sense, but with LeBron it's never simple. With Clutch it's never simple. You've got Magic Johnson and Jeannie Buss trying to resist that. Maybe they sense that might not be the best path. Assets wise, like Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, Lonzo Ball. I mean, do you shuttle all three of them for Anthony Davis?
I think that they will. You would like to not, but I think that, certainly Lonzo Ball. And I know LeBron speaks highly, and I think LeBron genuinely likes him. But if you have a choice of major minutes on the floor with Lonzo Ball or Josh Hart, for LeBron, it's Josh Hart all day. He's just a way better shooter. He's a better defender. It just makes LeBron's job easier. So I can't imagine that any scenario where unless the Pelicans just don't want him, which I don't think is the case. I would assume that he's certainly going to go. Ingram has been the one that probably has played the worst with LeBron. So and he has shown that he can be a somewhat dominant scorer. So you'd have to figure he's going to go. The thing is Kuzma, though. Kuzma's the one I'm sure that they are going to kick and scream to keep in the building. But he's a guy that with his attitude and how hard he plays and his ability to score in different ways, if you're the Pelicans, you're not even going to listen to that conversation, if he's not a part of it. So I would think that all three of them are going to go. Because what are you gonna? You gonna wait? Are you really gonna wait to the summer for Boston to come knocking? You don't know what Danny Ainge is gonna do. He's much better at this game, certainly than Magic and Rob Lowe. So I would. To me,
Thank you. I don't know if I've heard it. And that's got to be a thing, right? I've never heard anybody say it, but I can't.
That was the first thing I thought because I hadn't seen Pelinka since probably since he left Michigan, you know? And then when I saw him, I'm like, oh my God, that guy kind of looks like Rob Lowe.
That's all I've ever thought when I've seen him, and he kind of talks like him too. It was, and I'm like, why hasn't anybody said anything about this?
Totally, he does have his mannerisms, so it's pretty funny. Yeah. You'd think it'd be
a way great as if you would find out at a later date that he actually practiced the mannerisms because he just wanted to look like Rob Lowe. He grew up in that '80s era. He's like, that's my hero, man. Rob Lowe, man. Rob Lowe's had a pretty good career.
He's a good career.
All right, so now New York, kind of comes into focus because you have Kyrie Irving this morning. Basically, he said, I don't know anybody. I can't swear on the podcast. Can I swear? I hate hesitating on a swear. It's just so lame. Anyway, he's basically. I feel like the writing's on the wall in Boston for Kyrie. Like, do you want to make this guy a big fat deal when you don't know how much he's going to play? He's sort of like the weird stuff we've talked about on previous shows where the young guys are like, yeah, you might not be around here, old man. Plus, you do a lot of stupid stuff. Why are you telling me how to play? There's always that leader that tries to lead everybody that really can't captivate anybody. And, always. And so his comments today about not only owing anybody shit, thank you very much, and also saying that the Celtics were in the lead in keeping his services. Yeah. Like, I mean, just a little bit, like, almost as if he feels that the Celtics have moved on, or he knows he has a plan to get to New York, and maybe he and Kevin Durant already know that they want to get to New York. I mean, that's Sam Amick of The Athletic wrote a piece saying that this is about as real as it's ever gotten. Does this, I mean, there's so many tectonic plates shifting here, but does this, let's go with odds. What are the odds that you think this happens in New York? I know earlier in the show you said that it couldn't happen, or that it, there was very low chance. Like, if
no, I didn't mean it like that. I've been hearing people every time the Knicks have some money. Hello?
Oh yeah, you're here.
Okay. Every time the Knicks have some money, everyone says, well, they're certainly going to be able to get one of these free agents. And outside of Carmelo, it's never really happened.
But aren't these two aren't these two the perfect sort of like almost dysfunctional candidates to go to New York?
Yes, they are. They are.
Can you think of two players that they don't mesh at all? Like, can you see these two meshing? I can't.
On the court, I don't know. They both, like the turn. Like, Kyrie in Boston offensively, it's just not working. I know they have some good games here and there, but as a team, they are not maximizing the talent they have.
No.
And it's Kyrie. Because he likes the take turn offense. He likes it. Kevin Durant likes it.
That's true. You're
players,
right.
And it's, as opposed to when he had it with Russell Westbrook was still isn't a very good one, but he was still a terrible spot up shooter. Kyrie Irving can stand in a corner and knock down shots. So if that's where you feel most comfortable, I think it will work from that perspective. Now, all the other stuff, I don't know.
Like, who takes the shot in the fourth quarter?
You might see, Kevin Durant get switched on to, Enes Kanter, and Kyrie Irving literally run up to him and try to steal the ball out of his hands because he wants the shot. Those two are just going to be weird in that kind of setting.
Weird in the leadership setting. Can you imagine who's going to talk about the team after the game? Like, that's, it's going to be must-see TV if that happens.
Yeah, and you'd want to talk about isolating guys. But between those two, you're going to have to really move in a very strong veteran type of locker room way, and I just don't know that they're going to have the money to do that.
Money, and also like what vets want to come and listen to a couple guys that don't know really kind of like how to handle that role. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to go in and listen to LeBron, who can get a little preachy or whatever, and he's been there, he's won championships, he's LeBron. But like, you go more than a few steps down the ladder to those two, and I don't know. I mean, I know veterans probably will play for anybody because it's a really big paycheck, and New York's a great city. And all that, but you're talking about championship veterans that are looking for that perfect situation. So with the Kyrie, how this backs into the AD situation is if Kyrie knows that Boston is all in on Anthony Davis, maybe this is why he's a little pissed off today, and
sure.
That is sort of a tell that Kyrie might be out one way or another, because once the bridges are burned. Once hey, look, you've prioritized Anthony Davis over me. I'm supposed to be here for me. Maybe that is the sign that he moves out. And, Boston, again, sort of sitting there with assets to burn. Right. And how do they handle, like, I guess, can the Lakers make a compelling offer for Anthony Davis and really force Boston's hand to try to do something? Like, I kind of think this could be like a blockbuster situation where maybe you move Kyrie Irving early. And
so can they move him at the deadline?
I don't know. I mean, right? I'll look it up. Goes to Stat Boy. Let's go.
Yeah, because we brought that up. We didn't move him early, but maybe possibly. In the summer, not re-signing him, or some sort of sign and trade or something. But things could get dicey here in the next few weeks. I have a tough time feeling that Danny Ainge is going to do anything that's going to put himself in peril. Where would you move him? I guess would be the question. Did you try to?
The answer is yes, they can deal, and there's no provision that says that they can't. And another thing that's sort of making this trade deadline interesting is because New Orleans is essentially fire sailing, they've said that basically everybody's available. And I don't think they've gone so far as to say Drew Holiday is available. But, I mean, Nikola Mirotic is a great piece for a lot of different teams. Julius Randle, same thing there.
You kind of think that you kind of feel like Julius Randle is very interesting. I think he's playing very well. So they have not said that Drew Holiday is available.
They
have not.
At Boston, here's the other problem for Boston. This is where Boston, I think, is really they've been walking this tightrope for a while. Is that they have so many assets. Everybody knows that. They're kind of dealing from a position of everybody knowing they have to make a deal at some level.
Right.
They also have a piece in Gordon Hayward that's basically upside down. And the jury is out on whether or not next season he gets some sort of athleticism and really effectiveness back.
Right.
That's a huge blow for their cap sheet.
Yeah.
There's just a lot going on, and I do think though that the Lakers, they've got to come to a position, and here's the thing with the Lakers, they also got to give up picks. It's not just about these players; they also got to give up picks, and they've got to be able to force New Orleans' hand. Who, by the way, Anthony Davis is sending out feelers that he's not going to extend with anybody else other than the Lakers, and the question becomes: would he really hold up to that? If he landed in a Boston where they've got a great core. It's just a lot. I mean, who knows? I haven't checked the wire since we've been recording here. So much could change in the next week in the NBA.
Yeah, him saying that to me means nothing. Like that he's not going to extend with anybody but the Lakers. I mean, if he gets there and him and Tatum are hitting it off, there's no way that and they make a serious run. It's all about where you finish, And if Boston thinks that if Boston thinks that they can get to the finals and they get him there, who's going to lead? I mean, especially being in the East, that's the key. If it was a West team, it's different because it's such a grind. But in the East, I mean, you're talking Toronto just this year possibly, and Philly, and that's it. I mean, Milwaukee is tough. I don't want to slight Milwaukee yet. I'm sorry. They are the best team in the East right now. But
they also have two great players that want to be there. Chris Middleton went on a rant the other day about how he wants to be there and how Giannis wants to be there. Yeah. And it's when you have a player like a Giannis that's easy to have, it makes it a lot easier, a la Golden State, to balance other players.
And it's kind of funny though, because you can't the thing out of the Davis campus. I want to have a chance of winning. I have a chance of I want to have it. When you are not like beating the drum as loud as possible that this is the place you want to stay, and you're one of those high end players, it's really hard to do things from an organizational standpoint. If there's always the rumor that you're out the door, and there's always the thought that, if they don't make a splash, that might make him leave. Like, you never even hear that from Giannis. Maybe like 2 years ago, but nobody is saying anything of like, well, if they get eliminated in the first round, that might make Giannis unhappy. That's not coming out because he's beating the drum. He's the leader of the I'm staying in Milwaukee, whether it's true or not. He's the one beating that drum.
Well, also, that's his mentality, it's his makeup. Like, he really just wants to be the best player in the league, and he probably wants to be the best player in history, knowing Giannis. And with Anthony Davis, the criticisms early and, probably to a lesser degree currently in his career is the lack of initiative shown to be that alpha and to demand the ball and to, get in teammates' ears about whatever the hell it is they're doing at any point in time. He is a little bit more relaxed about things, and there's a lot of people who question, look, if you're this great, why aren't your teams, LeBron can go drag people, who are basically done in their NBA career and drag the team to 48 wins.
Right.
And the Pelicans have had decent players. I mean, there's been a ton of mistakes, obviously, but that's the concern. And but still, he's a generational talent, and you just never know. You could drop him in with a good team, and I mean, hell, we don't have time for this in this show, but man, look at the Warriors with DeMarcus Cousins. Like, they're just annihilating teams with him on the floor. He doesn't even look good yet. It's it's what we this is their best days, right? Their best life. This is what we thought. If everything was perfect, which it's early in the situation, so everything is perfect. This is what we imagined the high end could be, and so we'll see what happens. But there's still a long way before the playoffs. But yeah, back to Davis and the comparison to like Giannis. As far as mentality goes, when like Giannis makes you feel his presence in the game. Like when you beat the Bucks, you got it. You people that walk off the court after beating the Bucks to go, man, that Giannis dude is he's tough. I don't want to. Good thing I have to play him 4 times in a playoff series. But Anthony Davis, sometimes he just hey, he got to 20 points somehow, but like. You didn't have to double team that much. He doesn't throw his weight around the way you would want a guy that should be a supermax type guy and lead your organization. He just doesn't do it. Last thing on AD, and it is about his weight. I really wonder about the next 5 years for him. his body has transformed. His first few years in the league, he was extremely lean, and was this just unimaginable force in terms of athleticism. And now he's gotten a lot bigger, stockier, stronger. His dribbling ability is really almost hidden because he's so much better with the dribbling and the shooting that he can get shots off, and he is way more effective now than he used to be in that regard. But he is stocky, man, and like some of the alley-oop stuff, some of the defensive stuff, the block numbers, they are all, showing that mileage that players show. And so I do wonder, does he morph into, I don't want to say DeMarcus Cousins, but a big man whose core competency is the fact that he's both big and can shoot, and turning into a stretch five without that post presence that he had previously had. And now where does that put him in terms of these upper echelon elite players, and you just gave, if you're the Lakers, 2 of the 3 out of those guys and a couple first rounders, or you're Boston and you give up on a Jaylen Brown, you give up some picks, you give up, a couple other good players as well. What are you getting when you buy Anthony Davis? Fascinating stuff. Quickly, Conley and Utah, would that change anything for you with them? Because let me tell the readers or the listeners, Conley and Rubio are a rumor at this point. There's nothing going there, but Utah had the slow start, and now they're kind of coming back together. Would that give them teeth in the West?
I think it would probably make them a better team. I think, but Conley again, his availability is an issue. So is he a better player? Yes, he's better pretty much at everything. And I think it would take away a lot of the usage of the kid, which I think would be a good thing. I think he is asked to do too much, and I don't know that he has the game to do it yet. When that he's going to be shooting the ball, 30 times or whatever he's doing right now. So I think you're getting a better player, but it's his availability. I think it would make them a much more difficult team in a playoff series with a healthy Conley as opposed to Rubio.
I'll take that
I firmly believe, yes, that would make them tougher.
I'll take it
into the upper echelon,
but it does add something. Well, and I think it's interesting though that what would it do to chemistry? I think they like Ricky Rubio in that locker room. And they've been in a bunker together for a couple years now. And this is a good time. Go ahead.
I think for them, I would shy away from it just because it is such a gamble with Conley's health. And one thing Utah has going for it is their loyalty to players that come in and do their job. And I think that if they ever have a chance of landing, some other star at any point, that's going to be something. It's going to take the star with the right personality. But that thing that these guys, if I do my job here, they're going to reward me. And if you get rid of Ricky Rubio just for a gamble, you lose a lot of that cachet. So
and speaking of loyalty, they are flat out pissed. I think it was the president of the Jazz tweeted something that had like a bunch of typos in it, or at least a typo in it. And you could tell he was mad when he was typing. That Rudy Gobert didn't make the All-Star team. So it's that season, Kaz. We got a little bit of time here. Quickly, we'll rattle off in case you hadn't heard. The All-Star teams are this. You got Team LeBron in the West with Steph Curry, James Harden, Paul George, Kevin Durant, and LeBron starting. And in the East, you have Giannis with Kyrie Irving, Kemba, Kawhi, and Embiid as your starters. If at any point in time you are offended by any of those people starting, Kaz, feel free to weigh in at the end. In the West, the reserves were announced. We have Anthony Davis, Nikola Jokic, Damian Lillard, Klay Thompson, Karl Anthony Towns, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Russell Westbrook. Let's start in the West here. You got 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 players there that I think aren't like locks. My locks were Anthony Davis, Nikola Jokic, and Lillard. Clay, Cat, LMA, and Westy are my 4 iffies. Is that how you see it?
You said Clay. Who else?
Clay, Cat, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Westbrook. Like, LaMarcus Aldridge and Westbrook for me are the 2 that are definitely questionable. When I look at Cat and Clay, I go, yeah, they should be in it, but I might argue like Gobert over.
I don't know about Cat. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that he's such a lock. I like Clay. Aldridge, I don't know. I don't know. That to me, it's kind of one of those things that I don't think there's such a thing as an all-star snub. You either put down the resume or you don't. And Gobert is, he's not doing as much as he used to. They got off to a slow start. So.
Well, yeah, that's true. Now, Gobert, I think, statistically has had a fine year, and they did get off to a slow start. And that, I think, is important. Like, there's such a recency bias for people, in the
Absolutely.
East. D'Angelo Russell's getting that. Like, he had a terrible first 2 months of the season. Like,
forever, yeah.
Like a gross, like, you can't, peel the skin off your eyelids. Like, that was terrible. I cannot watch that. And the same goes for Russell Westbrook. I mean, his first couple months, just shooting just terribly, taking bad shots, not defending a lick. I mean, that to me is a reputation thing going on there. But yeah, Gobert, they were flat out pissed and said so, and a lot of people around the league are calling for coaches' ballots to be released after the fact. Other snubs, Doncic. Draymond Green, I don't think really is a snub, but he's being mentioned as one. Tobias Harris will almost always be forgettable for some reason. One of my snubs would be Drew Holiday or Steven Adams even. Steven Adams is thankless, if you ask me.
I don't think I don't think that Doncic is enough. I mean, it kind of just depends on how you view the All-Star game. I mean, if you don't care about winning, then sure, Doncic is having a nice season, and he's a rookie.
I wouldn't have him on.
Yeah, I just don't know. Yeah, Westbrook is just flat out played pretty horrible at the first chunk of the. I mean, there was a stretch of games where I happened to watch OKC, and I don't think I've seen a player as good as him play as stupid down the stretch of 2 or 3 ball games in a row, where he literally lost the game. Each of these games, he lost for them.
It's been bad. His free throw shooting is you're starting to see him crumble a little bit. He's had a good week this week, but he's
very fortunate that Paul George. I'm glad that everyone acknowledges that the best player on the team is Paul George right now. Because he has really saved.
Talk about a guy who does better in a number 2 role. My God. And he's now the number 1, but, Westbrook acts as if he's the number 1 on the court.
I missed that whole thing.
Yeah, the number 2, that Paul George, we've always talked about here, that he's better fit for a number 2 role. Right. And he's in that role, though. Now he's sort of he's jumped up into a number 1 role, and
right.
Congrats to Paul George for that. I would have Buddy Hield in, and I know a lot of people haven't watched Buddy Hield, around the nation or the world even. He has been just in every facet of the game. I just sort of sit there with my jaw down, thinking this guy looked nothing like this a year ago. Hat tip to him for working the way that he has. I'd have Hield in over Westbrook just based on the play, no problem. So you're good though. You don't have any bust takes for the West.
I always is certainly not anybody saying that Draymond Green should be an All-Star is out of their damn mind.
Oh hell no.
They're just. He's a very smart player and he knows how to take up space when he drives and stuff like that. He's still a decent playmaker, but any team that had any kind of focus on defense would make him shoot. Everyone. The guy's he can't hit a 15-foot jumper right now. No way.
He's got an interesting future ahead of him. Let's shift to the East real quick. We got Chris Middleton, Ben Simmons, Nikola Vucevic, Bradley Beal, Blake Griffin, Kyle Lowry, Victor Oladipo. Those are your reserves. You're going to get Victor Oladipo is going to have an injury replacement. So that'll happen. Jimmy Butler, D'Angelo Russell, Pascal Siakam, and Serge Ibaka are mentioned as the snubs. I'll say this. I went through the entire East. Those are the only snubs I could come up with, like, even remotely. Like,
yeah.
And I don't even know that, I mean, Siakam and Ibaka, you definitely don't expect them to make it. I mean, Ibaka's had a great season comparatively to what you would expect.
Right.
Siakam's still not a complete player, or even close. This Russell stuff, like, I would put Jimmy Butler in for Oladipo.
Yeah.
Butler over D'Angelo Russell, right?
I mean, give me a break. Like, who are these people?
He's had a great month. I need to be real, because like I've been heading the D'Angelo Russell sucks train for about 2 years now.
Oh, he's had a great month. The season started in October. Come on. Like,
I even would give him credit. I think when Spencer Dinwiddie got his deal, that he went, holy crap, like, this is all ending for me. You know, like, I'm the odd man out here, so I better be smart about what I do.
That's a
congrats.
D'Angelo Russell's really turned a corner as a professional. We all knew we had talent. He's gotten healthy, and he seems to be put it together. He's really focused. He's playing defense. He's making right decisions. He's not. Why don't we just say that? To say that he's being snubbed as an all-star? Give me a break. Give me a break. He's had a good. It started in October, people.
You know how many passes he threw at people's feet? Like, if you had like a highlight reel of a guy throwing a pass at somebody's foot because he did a no-look pass.
Double covered at someone's feet. Like, come on.
But that's how bad the East is. I was looking at Kemba as the starter, and I was just like,
he is it.
Like, he's had a great year. This is his first All-Star appearance. I mean, that's kind of what this is. Kemba. This is the first All-Star appearance, and he's like a lock starter. There's no question about it. He's a starter. I mean, maybe Bradley Beal has an argument there.
Poor Bradley.
Well, I think, between the landscaper that decided to start at the beginning of the show outside of the home office here, the landscaper that started at the beginning of the show, and then he's like, hey, I missed a spot. I'm going to come back and and hit at the end of the show. Aside from that and the internet connection getting really bad here, I think that will do it for the Kaz and Brew show this week. Kaz, this has been great. I think we should keep it up.
Yes.
You can follow us online at hoop-ball.com and on Twitter at KOZANDBRU show, and on Facebook, where I believe Kaz is thinking about possibly posting something marginally related to basketball at facebook.com/KOZANDBRU show. Another one's in the books. Peace.
Don't let Van Houten out of jail.